Previously on Back to the Story.
Come to the door.
Stepping out of the shadows, you see Braun wearing a cloak pulled over tight to conceal his face. You look down at your hands and at your feet and you just see footprints in the snow. Where did she go? I don't know. She... Let me see if I can find her. Open your mind to me, and the power is yours. Well, you're taking on the storm?
Heading out tomorrow, it looks like.
Well, I wish you good winds.
Wow.
Jesus. Are you guys ready to murder and pillage and play D&D?
Aye, Captain.
Okay. So, after you guys eventually find rest in the public house at World's End, you all wake up the next morning or stir from your meditation, gathering yourselves up to face the morning. We come back to the story here. The snowfall has settled somewhat in this early morning, crisp, but still cold.
One thing, the night before, as I return to the inn, I want to just kind of hold my arm out in invitation to the raven to take it inside.
Okay. It'll come with you inside.
And I just want to tell Allison before bed that the will is outside the city.
So you guys awake, and there's a raven in the room now. What do you do?
The fuck?
I just roll my eyes at Felix. Good morning to you too.
Well, do we have a ship?
We should. And I imagine that the night before I would have, unless everybody was asleep by the time I got back, which I don't think they would have been, I think I would have let everybody know what I learned from Gath. You all ready to go into a storm and plunge into a vortex that very few people have returned from?
Sure. Before we do that, however, can we just take 10? And I am going to ritually cast water breathing on all of us, because it lasts for 24 hours. So I'll just have my quill and ink, and we'll scribe a few runes on the neck of each of them, which will glow as the ritual completes and then fades. And presumably the same bubble that has appeared when the others have cast will appear when we go in water.
Thank you, Felix.
He does not cast it on the raven.
Should we maybe put the bird in the orb to keep it safe?
It's a creature of a god. Why does it need us to keep it safe?
Because right now it's a bird and we're going to go into a windstorm.
Maybe he should wait behind.
Speaking of the orb, Gath said that it might be difficult to hold on to things. So, do we want to leave the orb behind to keep it safe?
Don't want anyone else to find it. It's the only problem. If there's a place at the temple where we can store our things where they're not going to be touched, then sure, we could probably do that.
Well, we can certainly ask about that when we get there.
I presume you're having this conversation as you walk into the temple? No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as you're having this discussion, walking through the streets, you again see the patrolling guards, more people kind of on the move, though with the cold, they're hurrying between indoor warmer places. You eventually make your way into the district and see the temple, this tall pyramid, maybe nearly 200 feet tall pyramid, with this galvanized singed stone, this open entrance, 20 feet tall by 20 feet wide. And as you enter, you see the swirling mass of dark clouds you saw before over the interior pyramid. Ellory, you recognize one individual there, You see Kari, the desert elf, dark hair. She has hazel eyes with more or less simple clothes and a cloak. Smiles wide and tilts her head as you all walk in.
I wave up to her. Or is she up on the thing, or is she...
She is, but she kind of scuttles down. Well, I'm very excited for you all, and you, Ellory.
I grin at her.
She returns it. It's going to be fun. They're going to meet you on the other side. He said for me to wait for you, to make sure you knew the way.
Okay. Do you know if there's a place here... Actually, do I know first, before I ask her, if there's a place here that we can safely leave belongings?
It's kind of an open temple besides a few of the rooms, like Gath's or Sarah's rooms. The others are more of open bunks. Take them as you need them. You could hide it someplace. There's also, on the other side, there's an island, which is where you train sometimes, where there's a much rougher temple. It's more of a rough wall and a rough ceiling, and that's basically it. More of a cave than anything. Where you might be able to tuck it in somewhere as well. There's no vault or anything like that, but you might be able to hide it somewhere. Well, are you ready?
I kind of glance at the others. Do we want to leave anything back at our room at the inn?
Don't you know the head of the temple? Just put it in her room. I'm sure it's fine.
And if you're truly worried about it, we can put it inside the sphere and leave the sphere here. Because nothing's going to happen to anything inside of it.
That's kind of what I had in mind, for anything that we want to leave.
I think it's fine.
We could leave our weapons. They give us more weapons, though.
There are some weapons you can use, basic gear. There is a way that the old man of the sea told us to maybe keep some things intact. Secure it in a hollowed mast, cling to it, keep it from falling into the ocean. It may work.
Not very confident about May, so...
There are no sureties in this.
True. So I guess if any of you want to leave something behind to make sure it stays safe.
I'll leave everything except my, combat gear.
Yeah. I'll keep my basic daggers, like the throwing knives that are strapped to my wrists and ankles, but I'll leave the daggers here, like the returning dagger and the silver dagger.
Oh, and as she's doing that, I had to disenchant that, and he will actually take out what probably looks like a hair chopstick he has used at some point and hand it to Ellory, but it has been painted in scrollwork. This should enhance your spells. It's also, I've charged it with protection from poison. You should be able to cast it up to 10 times, so this is kind of your thing. I'm going to juice you as much as I can.
Thanks.
I'll leave my... similarly, I'll leave all of my weapons except for just a mundane dagger. So my hand crossbow and my +1 short sword that I now have. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything.
Okay.
For the locket that I just attuned to, I am going to wrap it around my hand and put my glove on around it so that I can keep that underneath there rather than around my neck flapping around.
Sure. The stuff you're leaving, are you leaving it? Okay, with your holy symbol as well. The stuff you're leaving, are you leaving it in the sphere, or?
Yeah, I imagine at this point, since we've spent so many nights sleeping in it, that we probably each have our own little spot where we sleep. So there's probably some of Ellory's stuff she just leaves there most of the time anyway, if she doesn't want to carry it around with her.
Sure.
But she is very much, she's going to leave Ezekiel's staff there for sure. And most of the stuff that's just unnecessary for combat situations. She will be taking her bone shiv, but that stays in her arm anyway.
Okay. Should I bring the firmament staff, or should I leave that?
It's tricky, because we don't want to lose it, but it would be handy. I will let you all know my boots are winged today, so I can fly.
And I could turn into something that flies as well.
And I also have fly prepared.
Okay, so I'll leave the staff in the sphere then.
I think, yeah, it's probably safer. We don't want to lose that in the ocean. That would suck.
Yeah, should I risk bringing a healer's kit with us?
Yeah, they're cheap.
Okay. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna leave the potion of healing behind.
Oh no, my scrolls.
Scrolls are worthless in the water.
Felix will have that realization and be very sad as he takes like 25 of them off of his clothing and just like neatly puts them in a pile and hands them to Ellory to put them in the sphere when she goes. I don't have any of my scrolls, guys.
So you guys take a few minutes, take the things either unnecessary or you think is too risky to bring, and leave them in the sphere. And then you're leaving the sphere here? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Easy enough. Ellory, you know Braun, and he said he'll hang on to it and keep it in either Gath's or Ceres's room. And once that's all said and done, you guys are faced with the pyramid once more. Kind of storm raging above it. Your clothes and hair wet now from the rain that constantly falls on the temple.
Well, I think we're as ready as we're going to be.
I'm gonna hit myself with mage armor.
All right. And Carrie, this desert elf, smiles and goes up the pyramid and jumps in.
I kind of look at the others. Now this part's going to be fun.
Fuck you.
And I believe we follow Kari.
Okay. So you hop in one by one, and I'm walking up the pyramid steps, looking down into this swirl of blue and lightning energy, swirling around this whirlpool of water, and one by one, into the water. As soon as you hit it, it's cold, and you feel it tumultuous, pushing you in different directions, flipping you upside down, this way and that, and suddenly you feel hard rain pelting you. End over end, as you see flashing blue and yellow lightning in the sky, as you find yourself falling head over heels. From the sky, you can see the ocean below quickly approaching, maybe 100 or so feet above as you're falling down. Ellory, you've done this before a number of times over your training over the year or so here. And you know the island, you can even spot it as you're falling, trying to right yourself. Not a far swim once you land. Head over heels, you land into the water, the waves massive, rising you up and down. The waves so big that when you're in the valley between them, you can't see anything but waves and sky.
For the record, as Felix falls, he is going to click his heels and try and test flying in this and try and right himself towards the island.
Okay. As you do so, you're able to maintain flight. The wind is strong and it slows you down a little bit, but it's not enough to blow you completely off course. As you and Ellory, who's done this before, right yourselves, you see the island where there's a old ruined structure at the edge of it, and beyond it, you see this massive hurricane storm wall swirling. It's as wide as the horizon. This dark, and you're not sure if it's day or night, but it's just dark and stormy, covered by clouds. You guys, whether flying or swimming, follow Ellory's lead and make your way to the island, climbing upon its shores, this more of a rocky outcropping. No sand is left after erosion from the storm, but you find a stony path that leads up to the fairly small hill and cliff where this ruined stone structure remains. There's enough of a roof to get you out of the rain, but only the vertical rain. The waves and the mist slosh in. There's no escaping the wet. You're soaked immediately. And inside you see a number of acolytes and followers of Ultimary.
I think when we get to the shore of this little island and get back onto land again, I kind of take a moment to look at the storm and just breathe in and out a few times. It's nice to be back here.
You can feel the energy kind of cascading down your back, your hair standing on end. It's palpable.
And I think without really realizing that I'm doing it, I just start laughing a little bit.
Good to see you in high spirits. You hear Gath's voice as you make your way into the ruined structure. This brown hair, kind of wild, growing out. And you see this small little alcove of a structure, an altar behind him, a few bowls of something laid upon it. This your crew, as he looks to the rest of you.
This is them.
Right. Well, grave souls. I'll show you the ship first. We'll get you blessed and we'll brave the storm. He smiles a little bit. Follow me. He leads you guys down as you follow, and a few of the acolytes and others follow as well, down a set of stairs into this lower cave, more cave-like structure. None of this is really carved beside the steps, and it's almost an alcove where the water comes in, and inside is somewhat of a dock where there's a ship, and it's tied by several ropes. The waves coming in and out move it this way and that. The ropes are giving enough to let it move, but not enough to smash it against the rocks. It's less of a ship and more of a skiff or a longboat. There's one mast. It's only maybe 20 feet long from head to toe. You see a number of oar slots along the side, and strangely there's what looks like a mast laying end to end, running the length of the boat. He turns next to the dock in front of the ship to face you all again. Ellory says none of you have sailed. Not as mates or sailors. Go over a few things. Luckily, we don't have to go far, but it's rough sails. He hops onto the deck. This sail here won't last long. The mast will snap or the sails will tear. They're not designed to last long. Nothing will last in that. But it'll get you part of the way. When it snaps, we'll switch to the oars. We'll paddle, trying to reach the eye. The waves will be big, the thunder loud, blinding, lightning. And this, and he taps the long mast that's kind of laying down on the bed of the ship. It's tied in various places. You see metal and leather straps all along it. He fiddles with one of them and opens it up. And it's almost like someone carved several treasure chests into this hollowed out mast. Anything you want on the other side we'll put in here. It's not guaranteed, but might give it a better shot. There'll be a point in the storm, once we get past the serpent, that I don't know what lies beyond it. But keeping you all together is going to give you a better shot at it. You can put your stuff in here, and when you start to go down the whirlpool, and he kind of shows you, he like straddles it, and he shows where there's handholds, where you can cling to the mast. There's straps to strap you to it. If everyone's clinging to this and strapped to it, Wherever you end up, hopefully you end up in the same place. That's the idea, at least. And that's what the old man showed us. I don't know if it'll work, but it's your best shot.
Okay. You said something about weapons we could use.
We have spears, javelins, crossbows. When you're in the water, it'll be tough to fight with certain weapons, but we have those too if you need them. Nothing fancy, but that'll get you through. Whatever you need, we got it. He kind of nods behind you, and there's a few weapon racks with more or less whatever you need. Nothing fancy, maybe a little rusted, but sharpened on the edges at least. And the last is this. And he pulls out this, looks like a small barrel, like a small cask, the size of like a rugby ball, and he opens it up and he pulls out this yellow plant life sphere about the size of a small baseball. This, Ellory says you have other methods, but if you get in a bind, this will let you breathe the water for a while. It, don't breathe too deep. If it gets too deep in your lungs, it'll make you sick. But if you need it, and he puts it back in the cask and seals it before putting it back in the long mast meant to hold things and eventually hold you. Any questions?
I look around at the others.
About how long until we get to the serpent once we head out?
Depends on the weather, how long the mast holds, how strong you are at pulling oars, and he kind of glances up and down at Ball. But maybe 15 minutes. About a mile in, we'll find the eye.
We should prep with the poison resistance before we set out. That way you can lock up the wand for when we need it later.
Okay. How long does it last?
An hour. And for the record, I can make a new one if you want to risk keeping it out. I can't do it until tomorrow, but it's up to you.
Hempson will raise his hand. I have a question. It's a very, very strange one, so if you don't know the answer off the top of your head, it's fine. How much does this vessel weigh? How heavy is it?
It weighs, insert reasonable amount, I don't know. God, I don't know how much boat weight. 20 tons?
Oh.
That's a very long ship. Maybe not that much. Can't be. Maybe a ton.
If it's more than 1,000 pounds, and I can't do anything.
More than 1,000.
Okay,
yes,
never mind then.
More than 1,000.
All right, never mind then.
Is exactly what an insert reasonable amount of weight he would know.
I look around at the others. I remember when we get to the serpent, we're not trying to defeat it. We're just trying to get by it.
Correct. Well, we'll have to take a few of the heads out. And I'll help you with that. And once you get through, you're on your own. I'll distract the other heads long enough to give you a chance. Alright. Well, if there's things you need to load up in here, and he kind of taps that cargo hold, hollowed out mast, put them in, we'll strap these in, we'll get you blessed upstairs, and when we're ready to go, we'll strap your lines in. And he kind of shows where there's tethers that go from the cargo mast that go out a little ways to give you some wiggle room. These will keep you on the ship.
I think I want to use this wand right before we set out and then put it in the mast.
All right.
I put it in the chat, but for the people listening, I'm going to put my healer's kit and my rapier into the mast. And my holy symbol, what I've done is like knuckle wrapped my hand like I'm getting in a street fight. And I've put the holy symbol under that against my palm.
And I will have put my repulsion shield into the mast.
Okay.
And I think I'll have done something similar to what Vesper and Felix have done with my holy symbol.
Okay. He gets that all in. All right. Let's get yourself blessed. He leads you back up to the top. Very small, simple structure. Where there's an altar with a couple bowls there. One is full of liquid, so it looks like seawater, and another is full of this white substance, salt. On the other side of the altar, there's an opening that leads to a small cliff that kind of hangs out over the water. It's only maybe 15, 20 feet above the rising waves, and it doesn't go out but maybe 8, 9 feet. But he carries the two bowls out to the edge, and he turns and nods when you're ready. And one by one, I presume Ellory first.
Yes, I'll step forward.
One by one, Ellory, you come forth, and he takes salt from the bowl, and he presses it over your eyebrows and your lips, putting it over your shoulders. If you have any, weapon that you've taken or shield, he'll rub it along that as well.
So I think I'll go ahead and take the bone shiv out of my arm for this. Don't know if I'm going to use it, but...
All right. He does it to that, and after salting you, he then takes water from the bowl and pours it over your head, and it washes some of the salt off, some of it remaining on you. You feel the wind kind of billow now at your back, almost focusing the wind. You can feel the water from the rain still trickling down you, but it almost averts your eyes so you can see a little better. It's not blinding you quite as much. The thunder still roars, but not so deafening. You can hear footsteps even, quiet, moving, shuffling from behind you. And your eyes adjust to this darkness a bit, to the intermittent flashes of bright in between the spans of darkness under these clouds billowing above you. As you step back, he does the same similar thing to each of you, salting you and then pouring water from the bowl over your heads, washing all that, feeling a similar sense of familiarity with the storm. Ellory more than most, as you've experienced this before. And for the next day, you're under the effects of bless, so please remind me when that comes up. You guys, after doing that, you guys go back downstairs, go to the ship. As the ropes are being slung off, you put the last things you want into the cargo hold before he closes it, seals it. You get all the tethers, these ropes tied to you that bind you to that central cargo mast to prevent you from falling overboard. And he goes over one more time. We'll head into the storm. We'll break through to the eye. We'll face the serpent. And then once we get past that, take your tethers, cling to this. He shows you the handholds where you can cling to it, and strap yourself in tight. And good luck.
Thank you, Gath.
Don't thank me yet. The last of the ropes to the ship are undone, untethered, as some of the acolytes help push the ship out of the alcove and into the waves. It rises and kind of falls, slamming into the water, splattering salty spray and ocean into the air. You can taste it on your lips. As he turns and rights the sails, you can tell he's gonna be doing most of the sailing, running to the port and the aft and all the ship terms that he knows, as he uses the mast and the sail to begin moving towards the storm. As you all are moving towards it, you can feel the tension rising in the air, the electricity overhead, but also sending sensations down your neck and your lower back. You can feel the hair standing on end, the cold water spraying against your face as you're all facing down the storm. The waves get larger, the wind rougher. You can see the sail strain, and Gath turns it, twists it to where it's not catching so much wind to prevent it from tearing. And before you enter with a rise over a wave and slam, landing into the storm, immediately the sound is the waves are larger, the lightning like the slam of metal upon metal, the thunder rumbling like some great beast. Intermediate periods of flashing brightness and black as you move into the storm. As you are moving into the storm and Gath is trying to adjust the sail, someone whoever would like to, make a navigation check, which is a wisdom-based check if you're not proficient, to help Gath do this.
Would it be survival?
No, it's a navigation. So if you don't have navigation, it's just wisdom.
You're still probably the best one to do it.
God damn it, probably. Okay. 10.
I will add Flash of Genius to give her +5.
15. Thank you.
You see Gath struggling to try and move the sails in a way that's not catching too much wind, but enough to move you through. You go to help him and pulling on the line, trying to understand, but you're new to ships, and you're trying to read his face through the rain, and it lasts another minute or two as you're sailing in, but eventually you hear the as a tear begins to form in the sail. It's still somewhat intact, but it won't last much longer. As you guys continue in, you can hear the loud sound of thunder and the crack of lightning. Everyone make a Constitution saving throw.
Rip.
And that's with the effect of Bless, right?
And Bless specifically helps with
Saving throws and attack rolls.
Yes, so you get an extra. I'll roll. Actually, yeah, I'll roll a d4.
Because my constitution is absolute garbage, I'm going to use the hashtag goals DM inspiration.
Okay.
Natural 20 for 25.
22.
27.
16.
All of you make it. So you, as the thunder and crack, this deafening, piercing sound, you each would take 5 down to 2 thunder damage, and none of you are deafened. As you continue into the storm, now rolling over these waves, getting larger and larger, Gath is running back between the sail, manning the sail, and manning the rudder at the back. Someone else can attempt to help Gath navigating using the rudder this time. This straight wisdom check if you don't have navigation.
What would navigation be anyway? Because I don't think that's one of the...
It's like a navigation tools.
There is a tool proficiency for it.
I guess I'll take this one.
I've only got a +2, so...
Well, same. That one's a 17.
And it doesn't give, it just checks, or just saves and attacks, right? Okay.
Correct.
As you're helping him with the rudder, you are steering it away from the waves, riding not so horizontally into them to where it'll capsize the boat, and you're turning and riding kind of diagonally to where you're not facing it head on, riding over these waves, down and up again. The wind is catching the sails as you can hear it tearing the sails, and it's now flapping in the wind. The sails just shredded, more or less. You can hear of the wood straining, creaking, some of it breaking and snapping as the ship is taking the toll of the storm. As you're moving over these waves, as you're helping Gath, all right, it's getting close, but it's not meant to last forever. We just need to get to the eye. As you're continuing into the waves, sailing through as the thunder continues to roll, there's a bright of yellow light that comes down, slamming into the water nearby. It bursts into radiant directions of lightning. Everyone make a dexterity saving throw as the lightning goes in all directions nearby. With an extra... Jeez, sorry guys, 1.
18.
I also got
12.
18.
I got a natural 20, so that's 25.
So, all of you would have taken 18 points of lightning damage. You take half. So you take 9. Ellory, you take 18 points of lightning damage. And are currently blind.
Fuck.
This bright light, and all you can see is white, ringing in your ears from the thunder as you sail on. The sail flying in the wind, Gath yells, "Oars, now!" and rushes to one of them. Besides Ball, on the other side, opposite of Ball, begins pulling back on these oars, trying to steady it towards the eye. Everyone give me athletics checks.
I'm
Rip.
guessing we're probably doubling up on ours, because
Yep.
weak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really good. 16.
That was really terrible. What the hell? I'll use luck.
Straight 14. Me.
I'm gonna...
That was even worse.
No, I'm gonna save my flashes of genius. That's a 12.
6.
How am I the strong one?
Okay.
Oh, come on, Ball!
Is a +7, you rolled a 9. So as you're trying to pull these oars into the waves are now tossing you this way and that. The boat is almost listing, uncontrolled, as you're trying to regain control of it. But you can see the edge of the eye up ahead where the storm clears somewhat. But unfortunately, you're not able to make it out in time as you hear a loud a crack, and everyone make a Constitution saving throw.
Plus.
Plus an extra 2 this time.
So that's a 23 for Felix.
What are numbers? 16.
And Ellory?
Oh, I said 18.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So all of you succeed and are not deafened, taking 4 points of thunder damage. You roll for Ball. And everyone, as Gath is yelling, roll, make one more strength check.
13.
I will use a flash of genius this time, so that is a dirty 20.
Strength check or
That's a
athletics?
straight 9.
Athletics, sorry. Athletics specific.
Okay, that's instead of a 4, it's a 6.
And Ellory, I heard you say something, but I couldn't make it out.
9.
So as you get on the oars, some of you are still struggling to bear into the waves as they're constantly moving, the ship rolling from side to side. But between Ball and Gath and Felix, actually, the ship kind of rights itself, pointing towards the eye again instead of being caught listless in the storm, and moves towards the eye. Rolling over these waves, finally breaking through to the other side of the storm wall. It's still raining heavily. The winds are still high, but it's not like the storm is fighting against you, trying to destroy you. You can hear the thunder still rolling around and the lightning cracking, but not threatening to blind or deafen you. And as you're getting your bearings, looking around, you can see this eye of the storm is maybe nearly a mile wide, almost. You can see the swirling storm, the storm wall, all around you. The interior rain and wind. You can see in the center of the circle, there's a swirling whirlpool of vortex that is pulling the weather around as your ship is starting to join the flow and begin to circle around the spout. And coming from the center of the spout, you see a vortex of lightning, this greenish blue lightning, this rising up from the center and into the storm clouds above. The water pulling you towards.
I'm
And
going
go ahead.
to go ahead and cast Cure Wounds on myself.
Okay.
Since I took a fair amount of damage there.
Yeah. And as you're casting Cure Wounds, readying yourself for what comes, the ship just kind of being pulled by the waves and the swirling vortex, you see coming up from the water these heads, serpentine. You see long, muscular necks, these blue-green scales, dorsal fins, long, that run from the top of the head down the back and into the water. You see these orange viper eyes, the mouth opening to these long fangs dripping from water. You see the heads rising up 20, 25, maybe 30 feet into the air. As you see 1, 2, 5, 10, 12, 20, you see these heads rising up in a circle surrounding the vortex, trying to protect it. Gath directs the ship, trying to quicken its pace towards the center. And I need you all to roll initiative.
Oh boy. Oh. My good luck streak just ran out.
I was doing really well on saves and pretty terrible on checks.
Now I roll a natural 20.
And that is a pretty terrible initiative check for me.
I got a 6, so I don't want to hear it.
Okay, but I have a +9.
Oh. Well, I rolled a nat 3, so.
Yeah. I did not roll much better than you. I rolled a 4.
Ooh, Ellory's initiative is under 20.
I mean, it does happen sometimes.
What?
Of course it would happen tonight.
I'm on a boat.
So,
how long are the tethers that we are attached to?
they're long enough to where you can reach anywhere on the boat.
Okay, so like 10 feet?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
As you guys are sailing, casting Cure Wounds, readying yourself, you see some of the necks ahead of you descend back into the water beneath the waves. And a moment later, rising up out of the water just to the left of the boat, water spraying everywhere as you see 5 heads rising out of the water to the left of the ship. And Amson, you are first to act.
Ugh. Gross. So a bunch of heads just burst out of the water next to us, basically?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Let's start off with a beacon of hope on everybody. And then I'm going to use my bonus action to inspire. Let's go with Ellory. And Amson's going to say, Ellory, thank you so much for not thinking that I'm weird. I mean, yeah, I am, but I mean, you are. I mean, we all are, but anyways, you get the point. You're awesome. Thank you. And that's a D10. And I'm going to move closer to the center, but staying at the back. Alright, so I'm going to go towards the back of the ship, staying on the opposite side of where the heads are. Just kind of shuffling over about 15 feet, and then that'll be my turn.
Okay. And that will bring us up to Ball, who will get closer and will, on his way, raise his hand as fire leaps from his hand towards the creature. The fire slung into the storm, the rain pelting it. It hits against the scales covered in water as a wave washes the flames away to no effect. And Ball will draw his weapon and ready it. That will bring us up to Ellory.
So first question, how close together are these heads?
They're some are next to each other, some are maybe 15 feet apart at the furthest.
So I would like to see how many of them I could catch in the radius of a fireball.
You would probably be able to reach all of them.
Could I reach all of them without hitting any of us?
Yeah.
Okay. And then that is what I'm going to do to start.
Dex save.
Yes, let me... do the heads, I assume, count as separate target?
If you're targeting the head specifically. If you're targeting the creature as a whole, we'll count it as one creature.
Because I have heightened spell now, which can give one target disadvantage on its first save.
Do you want to use that?
I would.
Okay. So it did roll a dex save, would be a dirty 20, but instead that is a 4.
4? Well, that does not make...
It is going to use its heroic resistance and attempt to re-roll. Not much better. It still fails.
Okay. So then it will take full damage. Oh, math, I'm counting. That's 24 points of fire damage.
Okay. The fireball bursts and explodes, the fire rolling around. You see the creature writhing, each head screeching out in pain as it takes 24 points of fire damage.
And Ellory's just laughing at this point.
And that will bring us up to Felix.
All right. Felix is going to... Let's see. He'll reach out and I'm going to cast Chill Touch. 22 to hit.
That will hit.
So, takes 13 necrotic damage, and it cannot regain hit points until the start of my next turn.
Okay.
And there's this spectral pink hand that's just wrapped around one of the necks.
Okay. That head writhing from side to side. And that will bring us up to it. Its neck's all craned back, regaining its composure from the flames in the skeletal hand as they all reach back and strike at the, let's see, it's going to be Summit Ball, and then it's going to swim down and get Summit Felix as well from that. So, that's bad. 15 and a 14 to ball, both of those glancing against the armor. And is that a shield of faith from Felix?
No, I enhanced his armor, so he has +2 armor right now.
Okay, so not able to penetrate through his parrying blows and the armor itself, attempting to bite, but to no avail, and is then going to slide over. Let's go do one more attack against ball, and that is a 23 to hit, which will hit, and then the last 2 will go to Felix. That's bad. And then a 18 to hit.
I think that will hit right now because I don't have my shield. Yeah.
Okay. So ball will take 6 points of piercing damage and 8 points of poison damage. And Felix, you will take 3 points of piercing damage and 8 points of piercing damage, or 8 points of poison damage.
And that is before reducing, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And did y'all use that on everybody? The resistance?
Yes.
Okay. And that will be it for the creature. And that'll bring us up to Gath. Vesper, you're on deck. And Gath is going to cast this for now. Again, he raises one of his hands into the sky, the holy symbol wrapped around his hand, as you see lightning begin to form in the sky as it strikes down towards the creature. Dealing... Gath would know that. So... Gath instead will throw 2 javelins flying through the air, smashing against the creature. While I'm adjudicating that, Vesper.
Okie doke. So with my bonus action, the first thing I'm going to do is cast Spiritual Weapon. And I would like to put it right here. Clicky. Right here, please. Right next to the creature. And as it starts to form that that natural longbow. At the last moment, the energy compresses down into the arrow, which elongates and turns into a harpoon.
Dope.
And I will try and attack this thing. 21. Oh, and I'm casting it at 4th level. I'm sorry. So that's when I cast it.
And that'll hit.
Okay. Ooh. 22 force damage.
Okay, it slams into the creature, one of the necks, and as it wails, the dark blood began to pour out and darken the already darkened waters.
And then with my action, I'm going to just summon the smoke that's around me and toll the dead.
Is that a con save?
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Okay. It's been injured. 17 necrotic damage.
Oh, it is not liking that at all.
And then I'm going to move. I don't want to cluster up, though. I'm just going to get more into the center of the boat, so I'm not so close to the other edge. Yeah.
As you told the dead, the wounds, particularly the one you dealt with the harpoon, holy weapon, opens up, tears open. As the tear runs up the length of the neck to the head, you hear the crack as the skull splits somewhat and falls into the water. 4 hits. And that will bring us up to Amson.
Okay. Oh, so it moved a little bit. Let's see here. I think a good move would be to cast Fairy Fire on it, so it makes a dexterity save.
So it rolled really bad, so it's going to use its heroic resistance, and instead rolls a 16.
Unfortunately, that is exactly what it needed.
The fairy lights cascade over the waters, but from the waves and the writhing of the necks, the glittery light is brushed off of it.
I am then going to use my bonus action again to inspire Vesper this time. And I'm going to tell her, yelling from across the ship, I don't want to say that I have separation anxiety when you're gone, but I'd be a lot happier if you just never left. So that's a D10. And I'm going to run a little bit further away after just saying that, a little bit up the stairs, just like a few feet. And then that'll be my turn.
Okay. Ellory on deck, but first Ball is going to use Avilmer, the large anvil warhammer, and smash at one of the nearest heads, using probably Booming Blade and whatever madness he normally does. 22 will hit. His hammer slams into it, and he's gonna smite as well. As Ball slams the hammer into the side of the closest neck, flames rolling off it, and radiant energy, white flames bursting on the neck. And
I don't know if it's a spell slot, Booming Blade, but he knows thunder wouldn't work. So would he cast that?
No, I'm not sure.
He should have
else.
green flame blade, so
Oh.
he would have done that instead of just fire damage.
So he'll use that instead. Have this pre-made. I'll roll it.
I think it's the same dice, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll use that same amount then. So as the hammer slams into it, the flames bursting from the anvil and from the spell itself, and the smite, the flames burn up, catching fire to this wet creature, running up, engulfing the head as another flaming corpse falls into the water, singeing and steaming up as it sinks down to 3 heads. And that will bring us up to Vesper. You go ahead as I'm adjudicating this.
Oh, okay.
You mean Ellory?
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Ellory. Ellory.
It's my turn. Yes, so... Oh, I'm waffling a little bit. I think I'm gonna go ahead and cast Chaos Bolt at 2nd level. See how that goes.
You have inspiration if you want it.
Well, I don't think I need it yet. I'm almost disappointed because I keep not using it when I get it. But that is 27 to hit.
That will hit.
And I said 2nd level, so decent rolls there for the damage. 22 points of, let's see what we have. Well, I can choose either psychic or thunder damage, so I'm going to go with psychic damage.
And what was the spell you're using?
Chaos Bolt.
Okay, so as this bolt, flurrying with different colors, is released, it slams into the creature. You see one of them looking very confused, its eyes crossing before blood gushing out of its tiny holes for ears and nose as it kind of wavers but doesn't quite fall. You see the creature as a whole, the 3 heads that are left, is looking very wounded, struggling. At least these heads. You can see the other heads making the other parts of the ring around the vortex are rising up higher and beginning to head in your direction. Felix.
Okay. Felix will, with a bonus action, summon Aeon near one of the heads, and then I will do information overload. So that's an intelligence saving throw.
5, he's going to use his last heroic resistance to reroll, and that's worse.
So that is
-2 to save on that.
11, 16 psychic, and I'll put a 1st level spell slot into it for another, I don't remember how many, I think that's, it's been so long. Another 2d8. So 19 psychic altogether.
What was the first number you said?
It was 16 and then plus 3, so 19 altogether.
So as Aeon releases this energy, the heads that are affected by it crumple and writhe in pain, screeching out, blood beginning to flow from their ears and nose.
That's it.
That will bring us to the creature. You see from the waters another head rising up, the dorsal fin, the orange viper eyes, and then another, and then a third, and then a fourth. Until there's 7 heads now. You can see the regrowth of these heads has emboldened the creature, looking more hardy, though still taking some wounds. And it is going to go underwater. Ball, I believe, will get an attack of opportunity that he would go for. I need to use green flame blade, which I can't find, so I'm going to use this since it's the same.
It might be labeled Blade. Phoenix Blade, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I should have done that, but here we are. And Alhomer, so he's going to take a swing as the creature is trying to descend, but unfortunately miss. As Alhomer swings wide, the waves rocking the ship, unable to find his footing. Although, I keep forgetting this. The waves rock the ship, lifting it to the side, but it shifts the figure as well, not able to descend underneath the waves quick enough, and Alvomer finds its mark with the blessing of salt. So he will deal some ridiculous amount of damage, and he'll probably throw a smite in there too. And Vesper, you'll be on deck in just a moment.
Haha, I'm already on deck.
Oh, ha 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 ha. And since it moved, it took more damage. Jesus.
No,
Christ.
Phoenix Blade.
Oh, okay. Still took out one of the heads. Smashed one of the heads in, crushed it with flame and fire before it was able to sink underwater. A tense moment goes by as you're waiting, as suddenly coming up from the other side, the heads rise, lashing out at Ellory, Let's see if it can reach Ellory. Amson and Gath. And it has 6 heads, so we'll do 2 each. Be a 27 to Ellory and an 18 to Ellory.
The 27 hits. For the other one, I cast shield.
Okay. Natural 20 on Gath and a 22 on Gath. And Amson, that is a 11.
No.
And a 18.
Yeah, I'll take this one. Let's see how bad of a choice that is.
Okay. So Ellory, we got lucky there. 1 piercing damage and 6 poison damage.
Okay.
Using your shield to deflect the second attack. Or Gath's in a second. Amson, you duck under the first head, but the second one comes to the side and there's nowhere to run, and you take 2 points of piercing damage and 11 points of poison damage.
Is poison damage, is that before it's reduced?
Before it's reduced, correct.
Okay.
And Gath takes a decent amount of damage here. As 2 of the heads slam into him, one of them picking up for a moment before dropping him back on the deck. And that will bring us up to Gath. With all of this stuff being storm-based. He does have this. He will get to his feet again, raise his hands together as ice begins to fly out of his hands. Several of these frozen shards slamming into the body and necks and heads of this creature. And one of the heads, one of the icicles slams right through the eye of one of the heads as it falls down. 5 heads remaining. And that will bring us up to Vesper.
Okay.
You can see the creature is wavering now, somewhat, but still 5 heads kind of searching for targets on the ship.
I'm going to start moving the harpoon closer just in case. And then I'm going to try another Toll the Dead because that worked real well last time.
Wisdom save. Not great, and it's used all its heroic resistances. That's a straight 8.
Alright. That's 18 necrotic damage.
How do you want to do it?
Oh. I'm just going to focus
5
in.
heads remaining, all wounded.
I'm just going to focus in and seeing where maybe some of the new heads are starting to form and where the wounds are. It's that reverse surgery sort of thing where I just like hone in on it and I start just like pulling at the air, and the smoke that's curling off of me and my spell just starts to seep out of the wounds and just tear them open and rot them from the inside out.
Gross, yeah. So you're rotting it from the inside out, tearing open those where those new heads are forming and running up the interior of all the other heads, looking around, worried, concerned, right before they begin to writhe in pain, and that same smoke begins to come out of their respective mouths and heads and wounds before these 5 heads falling into the water, sinking beneath. As the ship continues to move, you can see the other heads. 5 here, 3 there, 2 more there are beginning to converge upon you. Maybe 20 heads in total are moving in towards the ship. Gath gets to his feet and begins to float in the wind, flying up above. Now it's time. Kind of raising his voice through the storm. Strap yourselves in. As you see, you're about now cruising past the ring of serpent heads and towards the vortex itself. Strap in. I'll distract these for a time. As he looks to each of you.
Give him a nod. All right, everybody.
Okay.
As I strap in, I'm leaving the spiritual weapon with him to kind of help hold up as much as it can for the rest of the minute.
Okay. And the ship is being pulled, circling faster and faster as it gets towards this vortex, as you're strapping yourselves in quickly as fast as you can. And the image of above, as you see the ship being broken, you hear the mast above snapping as you grab onto the handholds and cling to this, each of you to this cargo mast tethered in. You see the spiritual weapon firing beats of light, and you see Gath kind of floating above, slinging shards of ice, trying to distract the heads for you to slip towards the vortex. And as the water rides you around and around, the ship is breaking apart. What's left of it slings into the water. You can hear the rumbling above. You can see the flashes of yellow illuminating the water as we see you all clinging to this piece, this mast that's sinking, the rest of the ship dispersing from the waves, being pulled this way and that as you're pulled down, swirling and circling around down into the vortex below. And as you feel your bodies being pummeled from left to right, up and down, trying to pull, you can feel the tether straining, you hear the leather and the wood crackling under the pressure, blackness everywhere you can see. So as you're sinking into this darkness and the waves are pummeling you around, everyone make a Constitution saving throw.
Are you still rolling our bless?
I will. Thank you for reminding me.
I can add my bardic inspiration to that.
Yes.
That's a total of 4. Oh, wait, no, yeah, I can have my bardic inspiration, because I did roll on that one. I don't want that. Oh, so much better. 14.
I rolled a 10
or no, so I guess
on my
13.
bardic inspiration, so that's a 21, not including the bless.
Well, which is 2.
Oh.
So 23.
Then yes, 14. I can do math.
Got a 21 total.
10 total.
And Ball boy. Ball should be pretty good at this. Not great though. So as the waves are pummeling you this way, that in this darkness, you feel pieces of the ship, rocks, just the waves themselves and the pressure slamming into you. Vesper, Felix, and Ball each take 12 points of bludgeoning damage. Amson and Ellory take 6. Take half. As you're clinging and feeling this pressure, it suddenly lifts. You feel the pressure kind of pulled off of you somewhat, the waves coming still. You kind of try to open your eyes and adjust to it, and you're still kind of floating in this water, each clinging to this mast as it floats down. What's left of the ship is gone and scattered. You can only see a few hundred feet, even those with dark vision, into the darkness. There's a strange yellow light that seems to cascade from the surface. You can't really tell from where, as you can no longer see the surface, but this almost light that you see reflected off of a body of water, sourceless. And the mast and you all begin to drift down, and you see something below. A stone, galvanized, ancient, seared somehow, in a molten way, this ancient, dark, gray stone, pockmarked. And as your mast and yourselves fall towards it, begin to land, you see something wrapped around it. This gray mass circling around it. And you see it clarifies into scales. The scales may be in places 10 feet wide. This massive tail wrapped around this galvanized stone that then rides off into the blackness. You can only see a couple hundred feet of this huge tail that's maybe in places 40 feet wide. You can see a dorsal fin low running the length of it as it swirls and cascades and wraps down into the depths. The yellow light reveals a bit. You see kelp growth. It's kind of wrapped around the stone and some of the places of the tail where you see these growth of the leaves and these small baubles, similar to the ones that Gath showed you earlier. And you see the tail drift down into the blackness as far as you can see as you come to a stop and begin to regain yourself, floating underneath in this water. The body flexes somewhat, the tail moving, writhing from side to side, and you hear a growl. Coming from deep down below these waters. And that's what we'll pick up next time. There, a little better than question mark.
You just wanted to do the growl.
I wanted to do the growl, and I wanted you to... You guys have seen Dragon Ball Z, and he ran along the dragon tail. This is that. It's for scarier.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Back to the Story. If you liked what you heard, give us a subscription. We're available on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and more. If you'd like to contact us, you can tweet us at back_the_story. And if you can't fit it into 280 characters, you can always email us at thebonfirefables@gmail.com. For behind-the-scenes sneak peeks, memes, updates, and more, follow us on either Twitter or on our Tumblr, back-to-the-story.tumblr.com. Lastly, if you're in a generous mood, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory. We'll see you next time in Norithil.